Well, Pete, it's fallen victim to the supply chain crisis, which is sweeping through the entire economy right now.
You've been lied to about KFC, and I'm going to prove it in the next 20 minutes. I grew up eating KFC. Sunday dinners, road trips, birthday treats. That bucket meant something to my family. So when I started looking into what's actually in that chicken now, I didn't want to believe it. KFC's sales dropped 4% last year. Raising Cane's is growing. Wingstop is growing. But KFC? Shrinking. Why? Because people are figuring it out. The man who invented KFC called his own food garbage, and then they sued him for saying it. I'm serious. Colonel Sanders, the guy on the bucket, spent his last years telling anyone who would listen that KFC had ruined his recipe. He called the gravy wallpaper paste. He called the extra crispy chicken a fried dough ball stuck on some chicken. His exact words. He was so angry he opened his own restaurant to serve what he called real fried chicken. KFC took him to court over it. Industry analysts now call KFC a legacy chain. That's a nice way of saying a brand people remember but don't trust anymore. I'm going to show you exactly why they're losing customers, what's actually in that bucket, and why the founder himself called his own food garbage. Stay until the end as I expose the genius tricks they use to manipulate you and how to protect yourself and your family. Let's start with the Colonel, because what happened to him tells you everything you need to know about what happened to the food. 1. The Colonel's war with his own company. Here's something most people don't know. Colonel Sanders was a real person, not a cartoon, not a mascot. A real man who spent 20 years building a recipe he believed in. He perfected his 11 herbs and spices in 1940. He invented a way to pressure fry chicken so it cooked fast but stayed juicy. He patented the technique. He built the whole thing from a gas station in Kentucky. By 1964, he had over 600 locations. He was 73 years old, tired, ready to slow down. So he sold the company for $2 million. And that's when everything went wrong. The new owners wanted to cut costs. They changed the gravy recipe. They simplified the chicken preparation. They made decisions based on spreadsheets, not taste. The Colonel stayed on as a brand ambassador, basically a paid spokesman. They put him in commercials. They used his face on everything. But behind the scenes, he was furious. In 1975, he gave an interview to the Louisville Courier-Journal. What he said would get him canceled today. He said the gravy was made from tap water, flour, and starch. He compared it to wallpaper paste. And then he said something even worse. He said, there's no nutrition in it, and they ought not to be allowed to sell it. This is the founder, the face on the bucket, saying his own company shouldn't be allowed to sell its food. KFC's parent company sued him for libel. They actually took the old man to court for telling the truth about gravy. The lawsuit failed, because it wasn't libel. It was his honest opinion. But here's the part that really got me. The Colonel was so disgusted that he opened a competing restaurant called Claudia Sanders Dinner House, named after his wife. That restaurant still exists today. It's in Shelbyville, Kentucky, and it's the only restaurant outside KFC that's legally allowed to serve the original recipe. People who've eaten there say it tastes nothing like modern KFC. The same recipe, completely different results. The Colonel died in 1980. He spent his last 16 years watching the quality decline and complaining about it publicly. He never stopped fighting. And what happened after he died? It got worse. Today, KFC is owned by Yum Brands. That's a multinational corporation that also owns Taco Bell and Pizza Hut. In 2025, they announced they're moving headquarters from Louisville, Kentucky to Plano, Texas. Kentucky Fried Chicken won't even be based in Kentucky anymore. The Colonel is probably rolling in his grave. Actually, knowing him, he's probably trying to sue them from beyond. Now, the Colonel complained about taste and quality, but he died before he could see what modern food science did to his recipe. If the gravy made him angry, wait until you see what's in the breading now. 2. What's actually in that chicken? Quick question. How many ingredients does fried chicken need? If you're cooking at home, maybe 6. Chicken, flour, salt, pepper, an egg, buttermilk if you're trying to impress someone. So why does KFC's ingredient list look like a chemistry textbook? I pulled up their official ingredient listings. This isn't some conspiracy website. This is from KFC's own documents, published in 2024. Anyone can find it. Let me read you some of what's in the original recipe breading. Monosodium glutamate, sodium aluminum phosphate, calcium silicate as an anti-caking agent. The frying oil contains dimethylpolysiloxane as an anti-foaming agent, and TBHQ as a preservative. The chicken itself is marinated with sodium phosphate, potassium chloride, and more monosodium glutamate. Now, I'm not a chemist, but I know what dimethylpolysiloxane is. It's a silicone compound. You know where else it shows up? Silly putty. Cosmetics. The caulk you use to seal your bathtub. Is it dangerous? The FDA says no, not in small amounts. It's legally allowed. But here's my point. Just because something is permitted doesn't mean it belongs in food your grandmother would recognize. There's a difference between won't kill you and good for you. Your grandmother never needed silicone derivatives to make chicken taste good. And that brings me to something that's been bothering me since I started this research. Have you ever noticed how every piece of KFC chicken tastes exactly the same? Maine to California, January to July, a morning shift to night shift. Identical. Like someone cloned a drumstick and shipped copies nationwide. Your grandmother's fried chicken was never the same twice. A little crispier one Sunday, a little juicier the next. That's what made it real. That's what made it hers. KFC's chicken is stamped out like coins at a mint. A friend who worked in food manufacturing explained it to me. He said they're not chasing delicious. They're chasing identical. Every piece, every location, every time. That's the goal. That's why the ingredient list is so long. Each additive serves a purpose. Anti-caking agents keep the breading consistent. Preservatives extend shelf life. Flavor enhancers make sure it tastes right, even if the chicken isn't great. The workers follow instructions, not recipes. The chicken is a manufactured product wearing a homemade costume. And about those 11 herbs and spices. The secret recipe everyone talks about. The vault. The mystery. It's marketing. The actual ingredients are published online. The secret is just the exact ratios. But honestly, with all the additives and processing involved now, those herbs and spices are the least of your concerns. One former employee put it this way. He said, "The chicken shows up in boxes, already breaded and frozen. We just drop it in oil and hope it comes out golden." That's not a restaurant. That's a deep fryer with a cash register. Now, if the chicken were the only problem, that would be bad enough. But remember what the Colonel said about the gravy? Wallpaper paste? Wait until you hear what the sides are made of. 3. The sides that aren't what they seem. I want you to picture something. You're in a KFC kitchen. It's time to make the mashed potatoes. What do you think happens? You probably imagine someone peeling potatoes, boiling them, mashing them up with butter and milk. Here's what actually happens. Someone opens a bag of beige powder, they pour in boiling water, they stir, done. The mashed potatoes at KFC start as flakes, dehydrated potato dust. Add water and you get something that looks like mashed potatoes. Tastes vaguely like mashed potatoes, but isn't really mashed potatoes. A former employee described the texture as wet spackling compound with butter flavor added. His words, not mine. And that gravy the Colonel hated so much? It hasn't gotten better. It still comes from a powder packet mixed with tap water and whatever drippings they can scrape together. The Colonel used to brag that his gravy was so good you'd throw away the chicken and just eat the gravy. Now it's something you'd use to hang wallpaper if you ran out of paste. He knew. He tried to warn everyone. But let's talk about the coleslaw, because this one surprised me. Coleslaw seems simple, right? Cabbage, some vinegar, maybe a little sugar. That's how your grandmother made it. Here's KFC's ingredient list for the coleslaw dressing. Sugar, corn maltodextrin, soybean oil, modified cornstarch, xanthan gum, potassium sorbate, sodium benzoate, calcium disodium, EDTA. Read that list again. Does that sound like coleslaw? Or does it sound like something you'd find on the back of a shampoo bottle? I've seen skincare products with fewer chemicals. And the mac and cheese? I've heard people describe it as neon orange sludge over overcooked noodles. It commits the ultimate food crime, being oversalted and flavorless at the same time. I didn't know that was physically possible until KFC proved it. Here's the trick. Everything at KFC is designed to look like Southern home cooking. The bucket, the Colonel's face, the words original recipe. It all triggers memories of family dinners and Sunday afternoons. But the food itself? It's industrial product in a nostalgic costume. They're selling you a feeling, not a meal. A memory of something that doesn't exist in that kitchen. That's why their sales are dropping. People can taste the difference. They might not be able to explain it, but their taste buds know when they're being tricked. Now, a lot of people think they've found the loophole. They say, fine, I'll just get the grilled chicken. No breading, no frying. That has to be better, right? I thought the same thing. Let me show you why we were both wrong. 4. The healthy option that isn't. The grilled chicken seems like the smart choice. No breading, no oil bath, just protein. Sounds healthy. Here's the problem. The grilled chicken is still marinated, and that marinade contains salt, sodium phosphate, monosodium glutamate, maltodextrin, bleached wheat flour, soy sauce, and something called autolyzed yeast extract. Grilling doesn't remove the industrial processing. It just removes the breading. You're still eating a heavily engineered product. It just doesn't have a crunchy coating. And here's the kicker. Even KFC's own nutrition listings show that a single grilled chicken piece still packs around 700 milligrams of sodium. Compare that to some fried pieces at 1,100 milligrams. Is grilled better? Sure, but less bad isn't the same as good. Someone told me they switched to grilled chicken to be healthier. What they got was meat that tasted like a science experiment pretending to be barbecue. Charred outside, rubbery inside, and an aftertaste that lingered like a bad memory. And here's the real trap. KFC's menu is designed to make the bad choices easy and the better choices hard. The meal deals push the fried stuff. The combos feature the highest calorie items. The upsells steer you toward bigger drinks and extra sides. That's where the profit is. If you want to make a halfway decent choice at KFC, you have to work for it. Read the ingredient lists, check the nutrition calculator, navigate around all the traps they've set. But the unhealthy path, that's the default. That's what they push. That's what requires zero effort. They've designed the game so you lose without even knowing you're playing. Speaking of traps, let's talk about something most people completely overlook. The drinks and sauces, because that's where the sugar hides. 5. Where the sugar hides. Most people walk into KFC thinking about chicken. They don't think about drinks. They don't think about sauces. That's a mistake. KFC's sweet tea is legendary, and not in a good way. A large sweet tea has so much sugar it makes regular soda look like a health drink by comparison. We're talking liquid dessert disguised as a beverage, and the drink sizes have grown over the years. What they call small now would have been large a generation ago. The cups got bigger, the sugar got more, and nobody noticed because it happened slowly. Then there are the sauces. This is where it gets sneaky. A single packet of honey barbecue sauce has over 10 grams of sugar. One packet. That's more than a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Most people grab 2 or 3 packets without thinking. They dip their chicken, enjoying what they think is a savory meal. Meanwhile, they're basically pouring candy sauce on their lunch. The sugar isn't just in the obvious places either. It's in the coleslaw. It's in the baked beans. It's hiding in things that don't even taste sweet. That's by design. A nutritionist explained it to me. She said fast food is engineered for the exact combination of salt, fat, and sugar that hijacks your brain's reward system. It's not about feeding you. It's about triggering the pleasure centers that make you want more. Every crunch, every dip, every sip. Calibrated to keep you coming back. That's not a restaurant. That's a dopamine dealer with a drive-thru. So far, we've talked about what's in the food. But I haven't told you about what happens behind the counter. What the employees see, what they won't eat. That's next. 6. What happens when you're not watching? I talked to a former KFC manager while researching this video. I asked him a simple question. Do you still eat there? He laughed. Then he said, not once since I quit. That job ruined KFC for me permanently. You can't unsee what goes on back there. This was someone who used to love KFC. Now he won't touch it. Multiple former employees described the same thing. The chicken arrives pre-breaded and frozen. It comes in giant bags from processing plants. By the time it reaches your local KFC, it's already been through a dozen industrial processes. One worker said, it shows up looking like chicken nuggets. We drop it in oil. That's the whole job. Now, about that oil. I kept hearing stories about how often the frying oil gets changed. Or rather, how often it doesn't. Former workers say it depends on how busy the store is. On slow days, your chicken might be swimming in oil that's already cooked hundreds of other meals. That oil gets dark. It gets thick. It absorbs flavors from everything that's been dunked in it. One person described it as old. Another called it tired. A third just said nasty. Here's something that stuck with me. Have you ever noticed how greasy the KFC box gets? How the paper practically turns see-through? That's not steam, that's oil bleeding through. Someone told me they spilled KFC in their truck once. Not a lot, just one box that tipped over. They wiped it up right away. Didn't think much of it. A week later, the stain was still there. A month later, still there. That chicken marked its territory, left a permanent reminder on the upholstery. When your food leaves evidence like a crime scene, maybe ask yourself what it's doing to your insides. And it's not just the food quality. There are worker safety issues too. In 2024, KFC in the UK was fined nearly $1 million after 2 workers suffered serious burns from hot gravy. One of them was 16 years old. The court found failures in training and duty of care. In Australia, 2025 class actions allege workers were systematically denied their paid breaks. Franchise owners have gone to court over food safety disagreements with corporate. When the economics of fast food squeeze everyone from workers to franchisees, what gets cut first? Quality, training, care. The people making your food are under pressure. The franchisees running the stores are under pressure. Corporate is pushing for lower costs and higher profits. Something has to give. Usually it's the food, and the people who eat it never know. Okay, quick pause. If you're finding this useful, if you want to keep learning what's really going on with the food you're being sold, subscribe. I make videos like this regularly. Fast food chains, grocery stores, restaurants, things companies don't want you to know, things that can protect you and your family. Hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Now, back to KFC, because we need to talk about how they manipulate you. 7. How they manipulate you. Let me tell you something about the KFC bucket. It's genius. Evil genius, but genius. Think about it. A bucket. Not a plate, not a box. A bucket. The same container you'd use to mop a floor or bail out a boat. But slap a colonel's face on it and suddenly it's family dinner. That bucket holds more food than most families need. Way more. But because it's positioned as sharing, as togetherness, you don't feel like you're overbuying. You feel like a good provider. That's not an accident. That's psychology weaponized. KFC sells memories more than meals. The smiling colonel in his white suit, the words Southern and home style and original recipe, the red and white colors that haven't changed in decades. Every piece of branding is designed to make you feel like you're getting something authentic, something your grandmother might have made. But here's the reality. KFC is owned by a multinational corporation. Their headquarters is moving to Texas. The food is manufactured in factories and reheated in stores. The Colonel has been dead for over 40 years. There's nothing Southern about a corporate boardroom. There's nothing home-style about frozen chicken shipped across the country. There's nothing original about a recipe that's been changed so many times the founder called it garbage. And every few months, they roll out some new promotional stunt, a sandwich with donuts as the bun, popcorn chicken pizza, fried chicken tacos. These aren't food, they're publicity stunts. They go viral because they're outrageous, not because they're good. People post pictures online, everyone laughs, and KFC gets free advertising. Someone I know tried one of those stunt items. He said it tasted like, what happens when the marketing department has too much power? I thought that was pretty accurate. Here's what really gets me. We all know on some level that this food isn't great for us. We feel it afterward. The heaviness, the sluggishness, that greasy film that coats your mouth and won't go away. But we keep going back. Why? Because the marketing works. Because nostalgia is powerful. Because it's easy. Because sometimes you're tired and it's right there and thinking takes effort. And KFC knows that. They're banking on it. The slogan used to be finger lickin' good. Notice how it's about sensation, the experience, how the food makes you feel for a few minutes, not about what's in it, not about what happens an hour later when you're wondering why you feel terrible. They sell you a moment, and then they leave you with the aftermath. I've spent this whole video telling you what's wrong. Now let me tell you what you can actually do about it. 8. How to protect yourself. I'm not going to tell you to never eat fast food again. That's not realistic. Sometimes life happens. Sometimes the drive-thru is the only option. But I am going to give you some ways to reduce the damage. First, if you're going to KFC anyway, skip the pot pie. I know I haven't mentioned it much, but it's one of the most loaded items on the menu. It looks like a cozy home-style meal. It's actually a trap. Second, treat the sauces, gravy, and sweet tea as dessert, because that's what they are. One sauce packet per meal, maximum. Water instead of sweet tea. Skip the gravy entirely. Third, make it rare. Once or twice a month instead of every week. Your body can handle occasional junk. It's the regular habit that causes problems. But honestly, the best option is to skip the drive-thru altogether and get actual food. Here's what I mean. A grocery store rotisserie chicken costs about the same as a KFC meal. It's actual chicken, cooked on site. Not frozen, not industrial. Add a bagged salad and you have dinner in 5 minutes. If you have an air fryer, you can make crispy chicken at home with almost no effort. Buy bone-in pieces, season them how you like, cook at 400 degrees, 20 minutes. Crispy skin, juicy meat. Ingredients you actually recognize. Slow cooker chicken is even easier. Throw chicken and vegetables in before you leave for work. Come home to dinner, portion it out, freeze the extras. On busy nights, reheat in 3 minutes. People say fast food saves time. It doesn't. A rotisserie chicken takes 0 prep. An air fryer takes less time than sitting in the drive-thru line. What you actually save at KFC is effort, but what you spend is how you feel for the rest of the day. And for those of you with grandkids, think about what food habits you're passing on. The next generation is watching. Try cooking together sometime instead of grabbing a bucket. That's a memory worth making. Let me leave you with one final thought. This isn't about guilt. If you've been eating KFC for decades, I'm not judging you. I ate it too. I have good memories tied to that bucket. A lot of us do. But those memories are from a different time. A different KFC. One that the Colonel himself helped create. That KFC is gone. What's left is a brand owned by a multinational corporation. Food made in factories, chicken that arrives frozen and pre-breaded, mashed potatoes from powder, gravy from paste, ingredients designed for uniformity and shelf life, not taste and quality. The Colonel saw it coming. He spent his last years fighting it. He called it garbage. He tried to serve the real thing at his own restaurant. They sued him for it. He lost that fight. The corporation won, but you don't have to lose. Next time you see that bucket, ask yourself one question. Am I actually hungry right now? Or has a corporation just trained me to associate their logo with comfort? That's not appetite, that's programming. Now you have the information. What you do with it is up to you. If this video helped you, let me know in the comments. Tell me, what's your history with KFC? Has your relationship with fast food changed as you've gotten older? And if you found good alternatives, share them. We can all learn from each other. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm looking at other chains next. Other comfort foods that might not be what they seem. And click on that video YouTube is showing you right now. It was picked based on your interests. The Colonel's smile is frozen in time on that bucket, but you don't have to be stuck in the past with him.